Hi, my name is Eric Wilson, and I'm making this video for my class EDU 387, Communicating with Immigrants at Georgetown College. The purpose of this video is to introduce teachers to France and French culture and to hopefully equip them with a little bit of the knowledge that they need to be successful teachers of English language learners from France. Please watch and enjoy. You may know it for escargot, crepes, and the Eiffel Tower. You may not know it for its education system. It's France, the largest nation in Western Europe. France's population is over 66 million people, the vast majority of whom live in urban areas. The official language is French, with regional dialects and languages that can be found across the country, though those are in rapid decline. Most people in France are Roman Catholic, though there are Protestant, Muslim, Jewish, and unaffiliated minority groups. France boasts a high literacy rate of 99%, the 15th longest life expectancy in the world at 81.66 years, and an educational life expectancy of 16 years. France is a republic with power shared by both a prime minister and a president. The country is broken into 27 regions, including 22 metropolitan regions and 5 overseas regions, is further divided into 96 metropolitan departments. France's government spent about 5.9% of the nation's gross domestic product on education in 2010. French public elementary and secondary schools are free, neutral, and secular, and are compulsory between the ages of 6 and 16. Now let's talk a little bit about French culture before we talk about some differences between French schools and American schools. The French share a strong and homogeneous set of values. Among the things they value are the values given in their national motto: freedom, equality, and brotherhood. Punctuality, good manners, formality, professionalism, hard work, and privacy are all valued by the French. To discuss personal matters with a business partner, that would be considered taboo, as well as talking about money, period, to someone that you don't really know. Generally, family is valued in France, and French people also tend to take more pleasure in unique life events as opposed to everyday events. Now that we've talked a little bit about French culture and the French education system in general, let's think about some differences between an actual French elementary school and an American elementary school. First off, with regards to the schedule and how the school actually works. In France, they have a 4.5-day school week. They only go half days on Wednesday, and they go full days on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Also, every day, students are afforded 2 20-minute recesses, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And they're a lot less strict about physical play at recess in France than we may be. And the third difference here, as far as the school schedule goes, the lunch is a lot longer in France. Students get an hour and a half for lunch at school, and they're also not allowed to bring their lunches. Let's talk a little bit now about the school environment and curriculum. In France, schools are typically smaller than the bigger schools we see here in America. As far as curriculum goes, elementary schools in France tend to focus on French and math. It's not that the other subjects aren't covered, they're just not given equal time when compared to French and math. Next, students are arranged in rows in their French classrooms, and they are used to lecture-style classes. Also, as far as homework, no homework requiring home internet access is ever assigned. Next, students are used to a different type of grading system in France. They don't receive letters or percentages like our students may be used to. They receive a grade typically between 0 and 20, where 20 is the highest. Finally, There are no fundraising events in French schools. If you think back to the taboo of talking about money in public and think back to the value of equality, you might understand where they're coming from here. Also, things like Spirit Week with Pajama Day, Hat Day, those types of things, those don't occur in French schools either. Now that we've talked about some differences between French schools and American schools, I'm going to offer some suggestions for how teachers could be more culturally responsive to their French students. First, with the issue of going from a 4.5-day school week to a 5-day school week, I would consider offering lighter loads at first for those kids, especially students who come in the middle of the year. Second, in light of the fact that in American schools these French students will have less recess and have a little bit more strict rules concerning physical play, I would consider definitely explaining the rules and expectations of recess clearly, as well as giving these French students a chance to move around a little bit in the classroom at first as they adjust to this. If you need some pencils sharpened, send your student there. Let them move around, be a little more active. Third, as far as the long lunch and not being able to bring lunch in France, I would make sure that I contacted my student before the first day of school, or if it was in the beginning of the year, to be very clear with them, perhaps through email somehow, that the students can bring lunch, and often students do, and even suggest some things that typical students bring for lunch. For the schools, the differences in the actual school buildings, I would allow the new French kids to have student guides. It would give them a chance to learn the building. It would give them a chance to make friends with one of the students in their classroom. As far as the focus on French and math in French elementary schools, it's possible, I suppose, that students coming from France could be behind in other subject areas because they simply weren't hit as hard in French schools. So that's just something to keep in mind and have a little bit of extra patience when you deal with students in these subjects. As for students being used to the lecture style classes in France, it would be a very good idea, I think, to again assign a student buddy, help the student learn the ropes, how to participate in student-centered or cooperative learning activities, and definitely do a lot of modeling so that students have an idea of what they're expected to do. As far as students not typically receiving internet-based homework in France, if you have to assign internet-based homework, perhaps allow the students some time to do that at school, perhaps in the morning when they're doing their morning work, something like that. As far as the different grading systems in France, I would just be sure to explain very clearly our system and how it works, and even compare that. Maybe give the parents a ballpark, 0 to 20, what their grades might be. And as far as no fundraising events or no Spirit Week in schools in France, again, this is it's information sharing. Explain to the parents and the student what's happening, why it's happening. The French family that I spoke to, they were very understanding. They know things will be different, and I think your French parents will be the same. Thank you.